Senator, what is your takeaway from this hearing?
Well, it was nice to hear the perspective of the Zimbabwean business community. It's something that we lacked here, and to talk about reforms that still need to happen and realistic expectations about when they might happen. And we want to play a constructive role in the United States Congress. We have ZDERA, we've amended it now. I think what is required with ZDERA is realistic. There have been statements by the President and others that they're moving toward realigning the Constitution, or the statutes with the Constitution, and getting rid of a few of the statutes that are problematic, or the measures that allow extra constitutional action. Also, Tendai Biti, to have that case done and have him be able to travel freely certainly would be a signal that ready to move forward. And you know, we would love to be in a position where we can support full engagement of the international finance organizations. There are just so few reforms that need to happen before that. So hopefully it will.
You heard the testimony by Dr. Mtizwa that sanctions are really hurting Zimbabwe,
and that was a needed perspective. I think we tend to view it as these are targeted sanctions at individuals and don't have an impact on the economy. And his point was they do. The perception and the reality is that they have an impact, and so. Like I said, my desire is to have us fully engaged in a positive, constructive way with Zimbabwe on the diplomatic front and on the economic front.
Let's talk about human rights, the August 1 killings.
Right.
Mr. Mnangagwa spokesperson, Mr. Joy Charamba, recently said that it's the prerogative of the president to either release the document or not.
Right.
What is your take on that? Though Mr. Mnangagwa, of course, he had made that commitment that it's going to be made public.
I can't imagine why they wouldn't release it. Whatever it is, you need to be transparent. I have a little perspective on this. I was actually meeting with President Mnangagwa when the violence was occurring outside on the streets, and I think that he does want to get to the bottom of it. You can't move on. There was a no more clear signal to a lot of people that Zimbabwe had not escaped its past when that happened, and so a full accounting and to certainly hold those accountable who should be held accountable for 6 people being killed on the streets. That needs to be done.
Mm-hmm. And now you are leaving office. What is your last word to the people of Zimbabwe? Of course, we broadcast to Zimbabwe,
right.
And you stayed in Zimbabwe, and you have been working very hard on this Zimbabwe issue. What's your last word to ordinary Zimbabweans?
It's not a last word. I'll certainly be back in the country, and I'm very happy with the direction that it's going. I would say Makorokotu on all that's happened, and I love the country. And so I'll be back, and it may be different capacities, but I'll be back.
And lastly, maybe one on former President Robert Mugabe. What is your view of him? You have met him before.
I have, and I think I was there in the early 80s when there was great promise, and after Zimbabwe's independence, and unfortunately it turned into a long rule that was not reflective of a democracy, and I think that it was unfortunate, and Zimbabwe's been set back because of his rule, his extended rule, and I hope that the country can move beyond it. That's my hope. The people in Zimbabwe are incredibly resourceful, as I mentioned when I went back to the country after a long absence, given what I knew they had been through in terms of governance, to see how life went on and people functioned. can only point to strong resilience, very entrepreneurial people who are just wonderful. I have so many good friends, acquaintances still there that I look forward to continuing our friendship with.
Thank you so much, Senator.
Thank you.